Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone who loved you unconditionally, while the whole world condemned you? I have, and it wasn't into the eyes of a human. My name is Almeida, Captain Almeida, if it still matters. 23 years serving the country, 3 decorations for bravery, dozens of missions completed, and in 72 hours, everything turned to dust. Not because of incompetence, not because of cowardice, but because I trusted the wrong person. 6 months ago, I was on my knees in an abandoned yard with a gun pressed against the back of my neck, convicted of treason, sentenced to death, guilty of crimes I never committed, and the man about to pull the trigger, he was my best friend, my brother in arms, the man who saved my life and whom I would save without hesitation, until the day he sold me out to cover up his own crimes. Everyone abandoned me. My reputation? Destroyed. My lawyer? Bought off. My witnesses? Silenced. Even my own mother was prevented from saying goodbye to me. I was alone. Completely alone. Except for one detail no one expected. Thor, my dog. A German shepherd I rescued from the gutter 3 years ago, when he was nothing more than a dying puppy covered in mud. I saved him that day, but what no one imagined, not even me, was that the moment would come when he would save me back. And I'm not talking about emotional comfort. I'm not talking about companionship. I'm talking about literally saving my life, about digging at the exact moment, about finding the only proof that could clear me when even I didn't remember where it was. This is the story of how a dog unearthed the truth when all the humans around me chose to bury it. It's the story of how loyalty, true loyalty, doesn't need a uniform, a rank, or empty promises. It only needs a heart that doesn't know how to betray. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you every detail. From the very beginning, when I was still just a 19-year-old recruit who believed in honor, through the day I discovered my best friend was corrupted, up to the moment when the earth opened under Thor's paws and changed everything. Let's start from the day everything ended, or rather, the day everything almost ended. The earth is cold beneath my knees. I can feel each little stone digging into my skin through the fabric of my pants. The same pants I wore at 23 graduation ceremonies, dozens of missions, 3 decorations for bravery. Now they're stained with mud and dried blood from the cut on my forehead where they threw me to the ground. The metal touches the base of my skull. I don't need to look back to know it's a Taurus 9mm, the same one I taught Mendez to clean when we were just 2 scared recruits. So long ago it feels like another life. His hand doesn't tremble. I know that hand. I held it when his son was born. He held mine at my father's funeral. Last chance, Almeida. His voice is firm, almost calm, as if he were filling out paperwork, not about to blow my brains out. Where are the documents? I laugh. It's a broken, pathetic sound, but it's all I've got left. You know there are no documents. You made all this up. The barrel presses harder. I feel the cold circle marking my skin, a promise of the end. My heart beats so loudly it must be echoing in the silence of this abandoned yard. The same yard where we used to play war when this place was still someone's home, before it became just another forgotten lot on the outskirts of the barracks. 3 days. That's all my trial lasted. 72 hours between the accusation of treason and the death sentence. Not even my lawyer believed me. Not even the men I commanded. Mendez had done the job right. Papers forged, witnesses bought, a narrative so clean even I almost believed I was guilty. Almost. That's when I hear it. That sound that cuts through fear like a blade of light. A bark. Hoarse. Desperate. Furious. Thor. Shut that damn dog up. Mendez growls at someone I can't see. Must be one of his soldiers. The ones he corrupted. The ones who chose the wrong side without knowing. But Thor doesn't stop. He never stopped. Since he was a rain-soaked puppy I found dying in the gutter, he never gave up on anything. Especially me. The barking turns into digging. I can hear his paws scratching the earth with force, that canine obsession that always made me laugh. Mendez notices too. I can tell by the tension in the air, by the way his breathing changes rhythm. What the hell? I close my eyes. I don't know what Thor found, but I know he's not digging for nothing. Dogs don't lie, they don't betray. They don't invent crimes to cover up their own. Only men do that. Mendez's finger moves on the trigger. I hear the click, and then the whole world stops spinning. I was 19 when I put on the uniform for the first time. My hands trembled so much I needed 3 tries to button it up. My mother cried at the graduation ceremony, not out of sadness but pride. She held a picture of my father, who had died wearing the same uniform 10 years earlier. "You're going to honor this fabric," she said, and I swore I would. Mendez was in the same class. He was from the countryside, a farmer's son, too skinny and too shy for the brutality of basic training. He got beaten up in the first days. 3 bigger recruits thought his accent was funny. I stepped in. I got beaten up too, but at least we got beaten up together. After that, we became inseparable. Brothers in arms, that's what we called ourselves. We rose together, every promotion, every mission, every scar. When he was assigned to the border, I requested a transfer to go with him. When I nearly died in an ambush, he carried me for 3 kilometers to the extraction point. He saved my life, I never forgot. I swore I'd do the same for him without hesitation. Maybe that was the mistake, trusting too much in someone you love. The operation happened 3 years ago. A classified mission on the Paraguayan border, intercepting a smuggling route. I commanded the ground team. Mendez coordinated intelligence. Simple, clean, routine, or it should have been. I discovered the discrepancies by accident. Numbers that didn't add up in the seizure reports. Quantities declared smaller than what was recorded on the operation cameras. Money disappearing between the seizure and the official deposit. At first, I thought it was an administrative error. I went to Mendez to review the data. He looked at me differently that day. For the first time in 15 years, I didn't recognize my brother in those eyes. "Let it go, Almeida. They're just numbers." But they weren't just numbers. They were lives. Drug money was flowing back to the streets to buy weapons, to kill people, and Mendez was pocketing part of it. Not alone. He had a network, corrupt officers spread throughout the hierarchy. I was the honest fool who could ruin everything. I confronted him. I threatened to report it. Mendez begged, talked about his wife's hospital debt, his daughter needing surgery, the pressure from superiors who were also dirty. "Just this once," he said. "I'll stop after I've saved enough." I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to. But I recorded everything. Every conversation, every admission. I copied documents, files, bank transfers. I put them on a flash drive and buried it here, in this same yard under the old mango tree that was already dying. Life insurance. In case Mendez tried to incriminate me, I had proof of who the real traitor was. I never imagined he would be too fast, that he would betray me before I could act. The uniform I wear now is torn, stained with earth and dishonor that isn't mine, but it's still heavy. It still carries the weight of 23 years of service, of sacrifice, of believing that being on the right side meant something. Mendez took that from me, and now he's going to take my life too. It was the same week I buried the flash drive. I was broken inside, the kind of exhaustion that doesn't go away with sleep, that corrodes your bones. I had just recorded Mendez's last confession, just accepted that my brother was lost. I was walking back to the barracks on foot, needing the cold dawn air not to suffocate. That's when I heard the whimper, faint, almost imperceptible amid the noise of cars on the avenue. It came from a vacant lot full of rubble and tall weeds. I could have ignored it. I should have ignored it. I had too many problems, too many decisions waiting. But something pulled me there. He was sunk in the mud, near a broken sewage pipe. A German shepherd puppy. Couldn't have been more than 2 months old. Skin and bone, soaked fur. Trembling so hard I thought he'd die right there. Someone had thrown him away like trash. I picked him up without thinking. He didn't growl, didn't bite. He just looked at me with those huge, dark eyes, full of a trust I didn't deserve, as if he knew I was going to save him. I hid him in my quarters, against all rules, all regulations. I fed him warm milk and softened kibble, cleaned the wounds, the fleas, the filth of abandonment. He slept curled up in my boots that first night, and for the first time in weeks I slept too. I named him Thor. I don't know why. Maybe because I needed to believe in gods, in something bigger than all that rot. He grew fast. In 3 months, he was already a big, muscular dog, with a loyalty so absolute it was almost frightening. He followed me everywhere, morning runs, night patrols, even trips to the yard where I buried the evidence. He sat by my side when I couldn't sleep, when thoughts of Mendez ate away at me. He didn't judge, he just stayed. There were nights I cried with my face buried in his fur, confessions I never made to any human. Thor heard it all, and somehow he understood, or at least pretended to, which was more than anyone else ever did for me. He chose me when I no longer chose myself. The other officers thought our bond was strange. It's just a dog, Almeida, as if loyalty was something small, as if unconditional love meant nothing in a world of betrayals. But Thor wasn't just a dog. He was the only pure thing I had left, the only witness who didn't lie, and now he's digging as if his life, as if my life, depended on it. The door to my quarters exploded at 5 in the morning. 6 military police officers armed, shouting orders. I was sleeping, or trying to. Thor leapt from the bed, growling, putting himself between me and them. One of the soldiers aimed his gun at him. "Get that dog out or I'll shoot." I held Thor by the neck, felt his tense muscles, the growl vibrating in his throat. "Easy, boy, easy." But my voice trembled. I didn't understand. I didn't understand anything. They slammed me against the wall, hands behind my back, cold handcuffs biting into my wrists. "Captain Almeida, you're under arrest for treason, corruption, and money laundering." The words made no sense. They were empty, impossible sounds. "This has to be a mistake. That has to—" "Shut up, traitor." They dragged me outside. The barracks courtyard was waking up, soldiers coming out of their quarters, stopping, staring. My men, the ones I trained, protected, commanded. And they all saw me like this, handcuffed, barefoot, destroyed. Some looked away. Others just stared with disgust, with disappointment. I saw Mendez at the corner of the courtyard. He wasn't smiling. He just watched, arms crossed, expression carefully neutral. Our eyes met for a second, and I knew it had been him, that it was too late. They threw me into a solitary cell. Hours later, an investigator showed up with a laptop. "Recognize this?" He showed me my work computer. Opened spreadsheets, emails, bank records, all in my name. Transfers to offshore accounts, contacts with traffickers, documents sold, a perfect trail of corruption. "That's not me. Someone planted—" "Of course they did." He laughed. "Every guilty man says that." I asked for a lawyer. I asked to have the files reviewed by an expert. I asked to speak to higher command. Denied, denied, denied. Mendez had done his work well. Every door I tried to open was already locked. Every witness who could defend me suddenly had amnesia or an urgent transfer. The few who tried to tell the truth were threatened, silenced. The trial was a cruel joke. 3 days. 72 hours of accusations I couldn't refute because all the real evidence had vanished. My years of service? Irrelevant. My decorations? "A facade for a corrupt man," said the prosecutor. Mendez testified against me. Standing there in front of everyone, he lied with the same face that had once sworn brotherhood to me. Spoke about suspicions for months, about erratic behavior, about duty to report. Every word was a knife. Unanimous conviction. Execution for treason against the homeland. When I returned to the cell, Thor was no longer there. They had taken him. Confiscated military property, they said. As if he were a weapon, an object. I screamed, I fought. Took a rifle butt to the head that knocked me to the floor, bleeding. The last thing I saw through the barred window was Thor being dragged to a transport truck, the leash pulled by 2 soldiers. He resisted with all his strength, paws scraping the ground, barking desperately. That bark that said, "Don't leave me, don't abandon me." But I couldn't do anything. Handcuffed, bleeding, condemned. The last image of Thor was his eyes searching for me through the window as the truck drove away. And I swore, even knowing I was going to die, that if there was justice in this rotten world, it would come, somehow, from somewhere, even if it was too late for me. The silence of a condemned cell is different. It's not the absence of sound, it's the presence of an ending. Every minute drags like an hour, every hour like a day, and you count. You count, because it's the only thing you still control. The countdown until you stop existing. 168 hours, 7 days between the sentence and the execution. Enough time to go insane. I spent the first 2 days pounding on the walls, shouting my innocence to guards who didn't care. On the 3rd day, I stopped shouting. What was the point? Mendez had won. The truth was buried in a yard no one visited anymore, and I was going to die with it. I thought about Thor every second. Where was he? The military kennel was cold, dirty, full of dogs forgotten from old operations. Were they feeding him? Was anyone talking to him, stroking that fur that always stood on end when he was nervous? Or was he alone, waiting for me, not understanding why I'd abandoned him? The guilt was worse than the fear of death. I dragged you into my tragedy, I whispered to the empty walls. I should have left you in the mud. You'd be better off without me. But it was a lie. We both knew it. Thor chose me, and canine loyalty isn't conditional. There's no up to this point. There's until the end, even when the end is unjust. On the 5th day, my lawyer appeared, a young man, sweating, avoiding my eyes. I tried to appeal. Denied. I tried to request a review. Denied. I tried. He stopped, defeated. I'm sorry, Captain. There are bigger forces at work here. Mendez. He didn't confirm. He didn't have to. On the 6th day, I asked to see my mother. Denied. Those convicted of treason have no right to farewells. As if I weren't human anymore, just a problem to be solved with a bullet. I gave up on sleeping. The memories came all at once. My father teaching me how to march. My first medal, Mendez's hand gripping mine the day we graduated. Brothers to the end, he said. What end did he imagine? This one. On the eve of the execution, when the clock marked 18 hours until dawn, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, measured. A guard stopped in front of my cell. He pushed a note under the bars. I recognized the handwriting before I even read it. Inspector Santos. An honest man, one of the few left. We'd worked together on 2 operations years ago. He had principles, the kind that earn you powerful enemies. The note said only, "Trust what you buried." My heart stopped. Then it started racing. The flash drive. He knew about the flash drive. But how? I never told anyone. Never trusted anyone after the betrayal. Except Thor. Thor was with me that day. He saw where I buried it. He smelled the freshly turned earth, sat next to me while I covered the hole. Dogs have an absurd olfactory memory. They don't forget places, smells, territories. But how did Santos know that? And how did it matter now, 18 hours from the firing squad? I crumpled the note and lay down on the cold floor. There couldn't be hope. Hope was too cruel. But even so, for the first time in 7 days, I closed my eyes and prayed. Not for me, for Thor, for Santos, for any crumb of justice still left in this rotten world. And now I'm here, back at the beginning. The barrel at the back of my neck. Mendez's finger on the trigger. Thor digging into the earth like a possessed creature. "Shut that damn thing up," Mendez yells, but his voice shakes. For the first time, I hear fear there. He knows. He's understanding what I'm understanding. Thor isn't digging for nothing. His paws rip the earth in furious, methodical blows. That same instinct that made him find me in the mud, that made him stay when everyone else abandoned me. It's not training. It's something deeper, older. Loyalty imprinted in DNA. "Shoot that damn dog," Mendez orders someone behind him. But no one shoots. And then I realize there are no more of his soldiers here. There are different silhouettes in the shadows, moving carefully. My heart races. Santos. Thor barks once, sharp, victorious. And then I see the metal box. Small, rusty, emerging from the earth like a resurrected secret. Thor grabs it in his mouth, drags it, drops it at my feet. His eyes lock onto mine. The same eyes that looked at me in the gutter 3 years ago. "Trust me," they say. "Always trust me." Mendez sees the box. The barrel trembles against my head. "No," he whispers. Then he screams, "No, that doesn't exist. I destroyed everything." "You tried." Santos's voice cuts the air like a blade. He steps out of the darkness, gun aimed at Mendez, cell phone in his other hand, recording everything. "But you forgot that a dog doesn't forget, doesn't betray, doesn't lie." Other men appear, civil police, not military. They surround Mendez. He's trapped between Santos's gun and his own still pressed against my head. A deadly standoff. "Let Almeida go," Santos orders, calm but firm. "It's over." "It's not over." Mendez presses harder. I feel my skin tear. I'll shoot him right now," Thor growls. It's a sound I've never heard before, guttural, primal, protective. He positions himself between me and Mendez, even with the gun pointed. 60 kilos of muscle and pure loyalty, ready to die for me. And something breaks in Mendez. I see it in his eyes. The same man who cried on my shoulder when his son was born, who called me brother, who once was good before greed rotted him inside. The gun falls to the ground. My legs almost give out as I stand. Santos steadies me with one hand, but my eyes are fixed on Thor. He comes to me, filthy with earth, panting, triumphant. I sink my fingers into his fur, feel his heart racing, the warmth of life pulsing. "You remembered," I whisper. "You always knew." Santos opens the box. The flash drive is there, sealed in plastic, intact. He plugs it into his phone with an adapter. Seconds later, his expression hardens. Jesus Christ. He looks at Mendez with disgust. "It's not just corruption. There are murders here, forged execution orders, 3 officers dead from accidents you orchestrated." Mendez doesn't respond. He's on his knees now, hands on his head, destroyed. 2 officers handcuff him. As they drag him away, he looks at me one last time. "I was going to share it with you," he says, voice broken. "It was supposed to be us, brothers to the end." "Brothers don't bury brothers," I reply. They take him away, and for the first time in 7 days, I breathe without feeling the weight of a death sentence. Santos hands me a bottle of water. I'd been investigating Mendez for 8 months, but I needed concrete, irrefutable proof. When I heard about the execution, this was my last move. He looks at Thor. "And this dog, he guided me, literally, knew exactly where to dig." I kneel again, but this time by choice. I hug Thor. He licks my face, my bloodied forehead, my tears. "You're not just my dog," I whisper. "You're my witness, my redemption, my proof that loyalty still exists in this world." And Thor barks, once, short, as if saying, "I know." Here's your translation into American English, exactly as written, without alterations. Chapter 7. The Colonel's Fall. 700 words. I watch Mendez being taken to the police car. He doesn't resist, doesn't shout, doesn't proclaim innocence. He just goes, shoulders slumped, head down. That man who was once a colonel, a decorated hero, a brother in arms, now just a case number, a future headline, a name crossed out from history. I don't feel the pleasure I thought I would feel. There's no triumph, only an immense cold emptiness that no justice can fill. "Are you okay?" Santos asks, offering me a coat. I realize I'm trembling, not from the cold, but from everything my body held inside for 7 days. Fear, anger, despair, all leaving at once. "I don't know if I'll ever be okay again," I answer honestly. Santos nods, understanding. He's older, grey-haired, eyes tired from seeing too much. Mendez wasn't the first. He won't be the last. Power corrupts, always corrupts. He pauses. "But you resisted. That counts." I almost didn't. I look at Thor, sitting by my side, vigilant even now. If it weren't for him, it was him. Santos crouches, strokes Thor's head. The dog accepts the touch but doesn't take his eyes off me. "When I found out you'd been convicted, I knew it was a setup. You were never that type. But I had no proof. Mendez had cleaned everything very well." "How did you find out about the flash drive?" "I didn't." He smiles, tired. "I guessed. Men like you, who believe in justice until the end, always leave insurance, always keep something. I figured if there was proof, it would be somewhere no one would look. An abandoned, forgotten place." He looks around the decaying yard. "And then I remembered Thor." "Thor?" "I spoke with guards at the military kennel. They said he wasn't eating properly, wouldn't obey anyone. But every time someone mentioned your name, he became alert. And when I picked him up last night to bring him here..." Santos shakes his head, impressed. "He knew. He started pulling the leash toward this yard. I didn't even know where it was. He guided me." I look at Thor. He tilts his head, that characteristic way when he's trying to understand what I'm saying. But maybe he understands much more than I imagine. 3 years ago, he saw me bury that box, smelled the freshly turned earth, marked the place in his memory the way only dogs can, not with words but with absolute certainty. "He doesn't forget," I murmur. "Dogs never forget who they love," Santos says, "nor where they need to dig to save them." Reality hits me like a punch. I'm alive. I won't die at dawn. I won't be buried as a traitor. My name will be cleared. My mother won't have to carry that shame. The tears come without warning. 38 years of life, 23 in uniform, and I've never cried as much as in these last days. I kneel again, hug Thor tightly. He whines softly, that comforting sound, and licks my hands, still dirty with earth, still stained with everything I survived. "I'm sorry," I whisper into his fur. I'm sorry for everything you went through because of me. He licks my face. There's no judgment there, no demand, only forgiveness, only loyalty reaffirmed. Santos leaves us there for a while. When I finally stand, he extends his hand. I'm going to need your official statement. It'll be long, but after... He hesitates. Will you want to return to the army? I look at the torn uniform I'm wearing, at the stained insignia, at everything this clothing once represented and no longer does. I don't know, I answer. I don't know what I want anymore. That's okay. Santos squeezes my shoulder. You have time now, time you didn't have yesterday. Time. The most valuable thing no one appreciates until it's lost. And as I walk out of that yard, Thor by my side, always by my side, I look back one last time. The churned-up earth, the open pit, the place where I almost died and where, in a way, I was born again, thanks to a dog who refused to forget where the truth was buried. 6 months later, I wake up with the sun on my face. Not in a military barracks, not in a cell, in a simple wooden house in the countryside. 3 bedrooms, a wide porch, a backyard where the grass grows free, and Thor can run without leashes, without orders, without fear. He's lying at the foot of the bed, as always. Calmer now, the fur around his muzzle a little grey. He still has that intensity in his eyes, that vigilance that never fully sleeps. But there's peace there too. A peace we both needed. I get up slowly. The scars still hurt when the weather changes. The one on my forehead where I took the rifle butt. The one on my wrist where the cuffs cut deep. The invisible one in my chest, the one no doctor can see but weighs on me every day. The uniform is stored in the closet of the spare room. I didn't throw it away, didn't burn it in some ritual of rage. It once represented something real, honor, duty, purpose. It wasn't the uniform's fault that men like Mendez stained it. So it stays there, folded, respected, but no longer worn. I'm a civilian now, retired for medical reasons and exceptional circumstances. Military code for, we almost executed an innocent man, and now we're ashamed. I received compensation, formal apologies, offers of reinstatement with a promotion. I refused everything except the money. I used it to buy this house, to start over far from barracks, from hierarchies, from betrayals dressed as loyalty. I make coffee. Thor comes into the kitchen, rests his head against my leg. This is our morning ritual. He reminds me he's here. I remind myself I'm not alone. I fill his bowl with food, change his water, scratch behind his ears the way he likes. Good boy, I murmur, and he wags his tail, content in this simple universe where food, water, and my voice are all that matter. 3 times a week I welcome young people here, boys at risk, sent by NGOs and by Santos himself, who has become something like a friend. I teach carpentry, basic electrical work, how to fix things, honest trades. None of them know my full story. They know I was military, that I had problems, that I started over. That's enough. Thor loves it when they come. He turns into another version of himself, playful, protective, patient with clumsy hands that pet him too hard, as if he knows these boys also need to believe loyalty exists. Sometimes I think of Mendez. I read about the trial in the papers. 15 years in prison, loss of rank, honors revoked. I should feel satisfaction, but I only feel pity. Greed buried him alive long before prison. He died the day he chose dirty money over brotherhood. The rest was just consequence. I don't visit. I don't write. Some ties, once cut, shouldn't be mended, only accepted as part of the past that shaped who we are, but doesn't control who we will be. Thor barks suddenly. A bird landed in the yard. He doesn't run after it, doesn't attack, just watches, tail wagging slowly, curious. I realize he's aged too. He's no longer the wild puppy from the gutter, nor the desperate dog digging earth to save my neck. He's a serene companion, aware that the important battles have already been fought. I sit on the porch with hot coffee in hand. The sun is fully risen now, golden over the green. There are no sirens, no marches, no shouted orders, only silence. The good silence, the one we choose, not the one that imprisons us. Thor comes to sit by my side. I place my hand on his fur, feel his heart beating steady, loyal, unshakable. I learned from you, I say softly, that loyalty can't be explained. It's dug, and when you dig deep enough, there's always truth waiting. He looks at me with those eyes that saw things no dog should see. That dug the earth when I couldn't. that chose to stay when everyone else left. And then he barks, once short satisfied as if saying, I always knew. And this time I know too.